Emotions are understandably running high, and as we recognize this is a moment of reflection and pain for many people. My role and the role of the Toronto Police Service is to keep people safe.
As the anniversary of the October 7th Hamas-led attack on Israel approaches, police in the GTA are preparing safety plans to address potential protests and possible violence. Good afternoon. It's a painful milestone that Toronto police expect will lead to increased tensions in the city.
In response, the police service announced this morning it will be increasing its presence across Toronto to help keep communities safe. CTV's Scott Lightfoot joins us live from Toronto Police Headquarters this afternoon with more on the news conference. Scott.
Well, Michelle, this is something that police forces across the GTA have been preparing for, putting these plans in place. Today, we are hearing more from several of the police services about what exactly they have planned to keep the peace in the coming days and weeks. We heard from Toronto's police chief this morning. According to him, over the past year, police in the city have responded to more than 1,500 demonstrations. They've also conducted thousands of visits to schools, community centers, and places of worship. Now, the chief says Torontonians can expect to see an increased police presence, including uniformed officers, mounted officers, and public order units over the coming days and weeks. Chief also says 3 mobile command posts will be positioned in predominantly Jewish neighborhoods, including Bathurst and Glencairn, Bathurst and Shepherd, and Bathurst and Finch. Chief says a 4th mobile command post will be deployed to various mosques around the city. The chief says they are working with other law enforcement agencies. They are monitoring intelligence threats, and they will continue this police presence as long as possible. Here's a little bit about what the chief said this morning.
We know emotions are intense, and as demonstrations continue, we must balance the right to assembly with the need to maintain public order and public safety. This is not just for those attending demonstrations, but also for our broader community and our officers. Over recent weeks, some demonstrators have become increasingly confrontational, and we have seen assaults on officers, including the use of weapons and physical attacks. These actions are dangerous for everyone. Engaging in confrontations with law enforcement, obstructing officers in the course of their duties, or resorting to violence is not acceptable and will not be tolerated. Our officers will not hesitate to enforce the law and make arrests where warranted. Again, an arrest can happen at any time after an offense. Communities are hurting, and the trauma of the conflict is deeply personal for many.
And we're also hearing from York Regional Police today as well. They say they plan to have 2 mobile command posts in the community. One will be stationary, the other will be moving around a bit. You can also expect an increased visible police presence in that area as well. We're told most of these command posts, the increased police presence you may notice, will start to appear by the end of this week. Reporting live outside police headquarters, I'm Scott Lightfoot. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Scott.
Still ahead, the UN Security Council holds an emergency meeting on the escalating tension in the Middle East. We'll have more on the reaction to Iran's attack on Israel coming up a little later in the newscast.
Next to efforts to curb car theft plaguing the GTA, York Regional Police announced the second phase of its Operation Auto Guard today.
The police service says it's a multi-pronged approach to the all-too-common crime. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live with more. Beth?
Sean, Operation Auto Guard 2.0 aims to make a further dent in the number of auto thefts happening across York Region, in particular in the south part of the region, Richmond Hill, Markham, and Vaughan. And so this new operation builds on a previous one that was more focused on enforcement. This time it really is getting combined with education prevention. And so police are really talking about people beefing up protection of their property. Things like not leaving valuables in the car, using a steering lock, parking in a garage, and using those Faraday bags. Those are those bags that prevent thieves from being able to relay the signal to start your vehicle. The other part, police enforcement, and they will be having dedicated officers who will be conducting investigations targeting organized crime and the export of these vehicles overseas. Now, this battle is costing significant resources. It's costing vehicle owners, it's costing police forces, and it's costing public funds.
Through our Preventing Auto Thefts grant, we're providing $900,000 to the York Regional Police to combat auto theft in York Region. This is part of the $18 million our government is providing to 21 projects across the province to fight auto theft through new and enhanced crime-fighting measures focused on prevention.
Auto thefts are down 31% in York Region this year compared to last year. This year, they're just over 1,800, and last year they were over 2,700. Police are hoping this new campaign, this new approach, will further reduce those rates. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Now back to Michelle and Sean.
Thank you, Beth. To Durham Region now, where 2 women were found dead and a man is in custody after police were called to do a wellness check at a home in Curtis.
Neighbors say they're shocked that the violence happened so close to home. CTV's John Musselman has more.
Durham Regional Police say it began with a wellness check at this home on Moulton Court. Officers entered the home shortly after 1 o'clock.
Officers arrived on scene and located 2 female parties. Both those parties were deceased and suffering from obvious signs of trauma. There was a small child who was also in the home at the time. However, that child was not injured. A 33-year-old male who was inside the home at the time has been taken into police custody, and the homicide unit has now taken over this investigation.
The exact cause of their deaths is unknown. Police are not releasing the names of the victims, but investigators say they knew the man who is now in police custody. Residents in this quiet neighborhood were shaken by the devastating news. They tell CTV News police have been to this home in the past.
It's just really shocking at the moment to process what's happening on our own street with our own neighbors. It's very sad.
I'm just concerned about my wife right now because she's a mess because that was one of her very best friends. And she's just, well, she's shaken up because she thought maybe something like this could happen at some point anyways, you know.
Well, I've lived here for over 30 years. It's like one of the quietest neighborhoods in Curtis. The first time anything like this has ever happened, so I'm just kind of shocked. I saw the ambulance, I thought maybe somebody just had a heart attack, and then I looked down the street and there was like about 10 cop cars, and I knew something big going down.
The motive is unknown. Police say there is no threat to public safety, and this is being called an isolated incident.
So right now, all I know is that it was to check on the well-being. Where that stemmed from will be part of the investigation, but it was to check on the well-being of the occupants.
The homicide unit has been called in. Neighbors say the child that lived in that home is a toddler. John Musselman, CTV News.
And we'll have more news in a moment. But first, let's take a live look outside this noon hour. Lots of sunshine today to brighten your day. There's some cloud in the mix. You may have also noticed it was a fresh start, noticeably cooler. You'll remember yesterday, lots of humidity, making it feel a lot warmer than it typically does in October. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Are we warming up a bit more this afternoon?
We will, slowly but surely, but you're right. It was definitely a fresher look this morning. If you were out early on, a layer was probably a good idea. But the thing is, the longer you're outside, because we're still relatively warm, you warmed up pretty quickly. That line of showers has moved its way east. It impacted us last night and into the early morning hours this morning, and it still lingers in eastern Ontario today. Now, temperature-wise, we're a little cooler, but we're kind of close to that seasonal mark. We do warm up right now, kind of in that low to mid-teen range. As we step throughout the rest of our day, we do see more sunshine and a little bit warmer when it comes to our temperatures. Right now through the islands around 17, through Pearson a little cloudier, sitting at 16, but as we head into that midpoint of our day, sitting in that sweet spot around 20 degrees. The difference is we don't necessarily have a humidex value today, so that 20 is going to actually feel like 20. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast as we step into the next few days. But for now, I'll send things back over to Michelle and Sean.
Thanks, Jess. The Toronto Blue Jays held an end-of-season news conference this morning.
It comes after what was a very disappointing season for the Jays. CTV's Raheem Ladani is live at the Rogers Centre with the latest. Raheem?
Sean and Michelle, good afternoon. The Blue Jays are doing an autopsy on the season that was to try and figure out what went wrong. This morning we heard from President and CEO Mark Shapiro. He described the season as a bitter disappointment, and he says the responsibility lies with him. However, he also said that both he and General Manager Ross Atkins will be returning with the Jays next season. The Blue Jays finished the season with 74 wins and 88 losses. That's their worst showing since 2019. Now, whether it was the offense, starting pitching, or the bullpen, there was a lack of consistency. In fact, the Jays scored 1 or 0 runs in 32 games this season, and not surprisingly, they lost 31 of them. As a result, the Jays have fired hitting coach Guillermo Martinez. That reporting coming from our friends at TSN. Shapiro said work has been done to get better, but he wouldn't provide any details on what that actually entails. Take a listen to some of what he had to say.
We objectively thought that we had a team that was good enough to win the American League East and play in the postseason. And, I can't think of a bigger disconnect from expectations in the time that I've been here. The expectations going into the season, which are not just anecdotal and gut-based expectations. They're based on some real information and real track records of players. But to have that underperform so resoundingly, collectively as a group, is extremely tough to accept and to swallow.
Now, there are two very big questions the Jays have to address this offseason, and that is the contract situation of both Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. Both players are set to become unrestricted free agents at the end of next year. Mark Shapiro, he didn't provide any details on that front, but we are hoping to get some better insight when we hear from General Manager Ross Atkins later today. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Sean, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. Well, Premier Doug Ford joined Mayor Olivia Chow this morning to update the progress on the Ontario Line subway.
The announcement highlighting the start of work on the Don Valley Crossing Bridge connecting the East End with the downtown core. Our Mike Walker is live in East York this afternoon with the details. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Sean, this marks a major milestone for the Ontario Line project. The construction of the bridge across the Don Valley means that work is now underway on the entire subway line. Now, Premier Doug Ford was joined by Mayor Olivia Chow, as well as representatives from the federal government and the Don Valley to mark this milestone. At this site, the line will exit an underground tunnel on the east side of the Don Valley. Trains will then run across the Don Valley on a bridge that will connect it to an elevated guideway that runs through Thorncliffe and Flemington Parks. The more than 15-kilometer line will run from Exhibition Place to the former Ontario Science Centre site. Excavation work is already underway on other parts of the line in the downtown, and right now the target completion date is 2031.
The progress that we're making here is so important to tackle gridlock and keep people and goods moving. Because as everyone here knows, Toronto is one of the fastest growing cities in North America. This region alone generates 50% of Ontario's GDP.
More than 40 connections to other subways, bus, streetcars, and regional train services. It will take tens of thousands of cars off the road every day while getting people where they need to go fast.
Now, this milestone comes as two other major transit projects in the city, the Eglinton Crosstown and the Finch West LRT, continue to face delays with no set opening dates. Metrolinx has said it will give 3 months' notice. Both the Premier and Transportation Minister were asked if those lines would open before the end of this year or sometime in 2025. Neither would commit to a date. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Sean, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. The city is set to launch budget consultations today. Mayor Olivia Chow and Budget Chief Shelley Carroll will launch the city's 2025 budget consultations at 1 p.m. at City Hall. The city says residents can share what matters to them in next year's budget through online surveys and in-person virtual consultations. The Toronto Police Service Board's Budget Committee will be meeting this afternoon. The committee is set to review budget requests for the 2025 fiscal year while progressing the police service's capital and operating budgets.
A warning now, as some viewers may find the video in this next story disturbing. Safety concerns being raised about the placement of food trucks in our city.
The questions come after a video surfaced of a woman being struck by an e-bike in August. It happened in a bike lane. She was getting meal from a food truck.
It happens in an instant.
This woman receives her food, steps back from a truck and into a live bike lane, blindsided by an e-bike, resulting in 3 fractures to her skull.
Here, and here. 3, and bleeding brain.
Magali De Silva doesn't remember the crash. It was August 27th at 2 p.m. De Silva was visiting her mother at Toronto General Hospital. The food trucks are parked in the Greenpeace spaces out front, directly beside the University Avenue bike lanes. De Silva spent a week in hospital, and now she's seeking the advice of a lawyer while in recovery.
One of the things we're going to be investigating is the placement of food trucks in this particular location.
The operator of the food truck says that he witnessed the crash and he provided the video to the victim. He also says they're allowed to park in any Greenpeace space so long as it's not within 30 meters of a restaurant or a school. Through the lunch hour, some pedestrians were moving in and out of the bike lane while waiting for food, and others had to watch their step. Dr. Ronan McLaughlin works at Princess Margaret, and he says it's the bikes like the one that struck De Silva, not the lane placement, that is the problem.
And they are silent. They're so you actually don't hear them coming, and they're coming at such a speed, much faster than a normal cyclist.
According to Toronto Police, no charges were laid. We reached out to the City of Toronto for clarification on the law surrounding food trucks and bike lanes. As of now, we have not gotten an answer.
I'm coming because the food's pretty good, so I will not stop coming to the food truck, but the type of vehicles that are allowed in cyclist lanes needs to be revised.
Magali De Silva says recovery will still be some time.
I need some answer and make something safe for anyone who is here, because I think something's wrong.
Now, further to us reaching out to the City of Toronto to ask about the location of the food trucks, they confirmed that the food trucks are allowed to park in these locations, along with a clarifying statement that reads in part, in cases where parking is adjacent to the cycle tracks, a buffer area is also installed so people can exit their vehicles and yield to people cycling in the cycle track. And city staff will investigate the food truck parking location, as the photo shared indicates that the vendor is parking in the buffer area. If the vendor cannot comply with parking regulations, then city staff will consider whether the permit location needs to be moved to a location or be rescinded.
A teacher shortage is reportedly looming in the province. The Ontario Education Ministry says the shortage is being caused by rising retirements and student enrollment, according to documents obtained by the Canadian Press. The document says many school boards are having challenges recruiting and retaining qualified teachers, especially in areas such as French and tech education. The ministry expects the situation to get worse in 2027 when it's anticipated the gap between the number of teachers needed and the number available will widen.
In the U.S. Southeast, crews continue to search for people unaccounted for after Hurricane Helene. The storm killed at least 166 people and caused catastrophic damage. More than 1.2 million customers still had no power today in the Carolinas and Georgia. Many are also without running water and cell phone service. More than 150,000 households have registered for assistance with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and that number is expected to increase. U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will travel to the region today to assess the devastation.
In New York, the two U.S. vice presidential candidates squared off in their only debate last night, but for much of the evening, both men focused on each other's running mates.
Donald Trump had 4 years. He had 4 years to do this, and he promised you, America, how easy it would be. I'll build you a big, beautiful wall, and Mexico will pay for it. Less than 2% of that wall got built, and Mexico didn't pay a dime. But here we are again, 9 years after he came down that escalator, dehumanizing people.
You've got schools that are overwhelmed. You've got hospitals that are overwhelmed. You have got housing that is totally unaffordable because we brought in millions of illegal immigrants to compete with Americans for scarce homes. The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border.
Both men agreed the number of migrants in the U.S. illegally is a problem, but each laid the blame on the opposing presidential nominee. On foreign policy, Tim Walz and J.D. Vance offered different approaches. The Democrat promising steady leadership under Harris, while his Republican opponent pledged a return to peace through strength.
In the Middle East, Gaza's health ministry says 51 people were killed in a large Israeli air and ground operation in the southern city of Khan Yunis. Officials say at least 82 people were injured in the attack that began early today. Residents say there were heavy airstrikes as ground forces moved into 3 neighborhoods Israel's military has yet to comment. Local hospitals say 23 people were killed in separate attacks across the Gaza Strip.
At the UN, the Security Council is holding an emergency meeting right now to address the spiraling conflict in the region.
It's high time for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, with the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, the effective delivery of humanitarian aid to Palestinians in Gaza, and irreversible progress to a two-state solution. It's high time for a cessation of hostilities in Lebanon, re-election towards full implementation of Security Council resolutions 1559 and 1701, paving the way for diplomatic efforts for sustainable peace. It's high time to stop the sickening cycle of escalation after escalation that is leading the people of the Middle East straight over the cliff.
The 15-member council met following Iran's missile attack against Israel yesterday and Israeli incursions into Lebanon, both raising fears of a wider war. Today, Israel's UN envoy told the council the world must step up and Iran must pay a heavy price for its attack. And the United States warned Tehran against targeting it or Israel. For more on this, we're joined by CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, the U.S. Deputy Secretary, noting the region is really on a knife's edge right now. What's the latest?
Michelle, a flurry of diplomatic reactions, including from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We'll get to that in a moment. But all of this as, of course, the Middle East appears to be moving closer to that long-feared, wider regional conflict in the wake of Iran's attack against Israel. Israel has vowed to retaliate for the attack that saw close to 200 missiles aimed at major Israeli cities, forcing residents into bomb shelters. So here is the reaction from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, calling Iran's attack against Israel reckless, reaffirming Canada's commitment to support Israel's right to defend itself, but also echoing calls from other G7 leaders calling for a de-escalation in the region and continuing a call for a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel, and also a ceasefire in Gaza. Here's more from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau speaking this morning in Ottawa in reaction to this latest attack by Iran against Israel.
Obviously, Israel has the right to defend itself against these attacks. At the same time, we have to try and do everything we can to avoid a wider war, to protect civilians, and to get humanitarian aid into affected regions.
Now, despite these calls for ongoing de-escalation from Canada and the international community, fighting between Israel and Hezbollah continues in southern Lebanon today.
Scott, what is the message to Canadians living in the region?
Well, we're also hearing from Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, and the message to Canadians in Lebanon is get out while you can. At the same time, the Canadian government is helping to get some Canadians out, booking them on commercial flights. So far, according to Foreign Affairs Minister, hundreds of Canadians have been helped to get out of the region. These are flights out of Beirut, and they are going to Istanbul. Here's more from Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly on the call for Canadians in the region.
We have 654 seats available. So you can see that basically there's still lots of seats that are available to Canadians. So my point to those watching or listening to us is if you're offered a seat, please take it.
And Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly reiterating that statement, if you're offered a seat, please take that, because according to her, the Canadian government has been in contact with many Canadians in the region. However, few of them are taking the government up on their offer.
CTV's Scott Hurst live for us in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
In Ottawa, the federal inquiry into foreign interference is expected to hear today from more than a dozen people representing the diaspora community. They're slated to take part in a series of panel discussions on issues ranging from civil liberties and racism to public awareness and disinformation. The commission will also make a presentation on its public consultation process. Officials from the RCMP and Global Affairs Canada are among those scheduled to appear later in the week.
Meanwhile, for the third time in a week, the House of Commons will vote on a confidence measure today, but this one comes from the government itself. The Liberals have called for a vote on the proposed changes to the capital gains tax they announced in the spring budget. The capital gains inclusion rate was adjusted in June. The motion before the House today will allow the government to introduce legislation to formalize the changes. It will affect most Canadians who make more than $250,000 in profit in a single year from capital income. They will now pay more tax on that income. Jess.
We are holding on to a lot of sunshine today, but it's not necessarily that hot and humid sunshine we've been experiencing as of late as we step into the fall season. We will see a more northerly flow to the wind today, so it won't be cold by any stretch of the imagination. We're still above seasonal. We're just not dealing with the humidex like we were yesterday. It's short-lived, though, and it returns tomorrow. Throughout the afternoon, if you want to get out, get your steps in, get that fresh air break, we're looking at a beautiful forecast, but it takes a while for that daytime heating to take place. We don't really reach our high until later on this afternoon, around 20 degrees. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast as we head in towards the weekend and really step into the first full weekend of October. All those details after the break.
Welcome back. Jessica Smith. Now, I had to negotiate with my daughter this morning about wearing a coat because it's still sunny. She thought it was warm like it's been all week, but no, that's much different.
I was your daughter today because I was like, you know what? I'm going to go sleeveless for the walk to school, and I was so cold.
We're in that time of year where if you look outside, like your eyes will lie to you because yesterday it looked like it would be cold because it was so dark and it was so humid out there. This morning, you look outside, you see the sunshine, you're like, I don't need a jacket. So your daughter was right this morning to an extent. But the thing is, by the time we get to the afternoon, you probably won't need it. So we're in that time of year where you just prepare for everything. I carry all my stuff in my bag or in my trunk regardless because you're going to see all those types of weather throughout the exact same day. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, a decent amount of sunshine this morning after all that rain last night. A beautiful sunrise over the city. And it was a great morning to get out, get your steps in, get active. But, you know, you did need that little bit of an extra layer. But again, because we had that sunrise out there, as you got walking, you got moving, you probably felt the heat. But the good news is the sunshine sticks around as we head throughout the majority of the week ahead. So just keep the jacket or the sweater handy because you'll need it to kind of start and end the day. Right now, we're still sitting at just 16, but 16 is still really nice. Northern Ontario, a little cooler, but for the most part, we're kind of in that seasonal sweet spot, at least for now. A bit of a southwesterly wind. We'll see that become more northerly as we head throughout the day. And then, to be honest, it's not too bad of an afternoon. We'll sit around 20 degrees. We should be at 17 this time of year. And everybody kind of holding on just above that seasonal mark. And again, with a really light, more northerly flow to the wind, there's not much of a humidex to contend with. So that 20 is going to feel like 20. Heading into this evening, we are sitting a little closer to seasonal. We're around 11. We should be at 8. Where we are closer to where we should be is over towards Peterborough through Bancroft, but they're really kind of the outliers. Everybody's still pretty warm and at least in the low double digits. That line of showers, that cold front continues to push its way east, and we're looking at a beautiful couple of days ahead. Another cold front will make its way through, but this one not coming with any active weather. But we're getting into that time of year where areas further north are seeing those little bits of light snow. It's a scary word this time of year, but we're not dealing with it just yet. I just like to say it. Temperature-wise today, again, we're not too far off of where we should be from that seasonal average. It feels cool in comparison to how warm it's been, but we're really just where we should be. Not much going on in the forecast radar picture, and that's really the story as we head throughout the end of the work and school week. It's not really until the weekend where we see the chance of maybe a few light showers trickling through, but overall, the week ahead is quite nice. And as we step in towards the week that leads up to Thanksgiving, temperature-wise, we will trend a little closer to seasonal. Throughout the rest of this week, though, just a whole lot of sunshine. Temperatures back in the 20s. That chance of showers rolls in kind of midday, late in the day on Sunday and carries us throughout the rest of the week. The likelihood of showers Monday and Tuesday is pretty low. We're kind of watching this trickle off, and we'll see a decent amount of sunshine. But those daytime highs and overnight lows much closer to seasonal. Michelle, Sean, I'll send things back over to you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Well, October is, you know, a time for apple picking, but at a farm in Morrisburg, south of Ottawa, they are still picking beautiful, juicy strawberries.
It's all thanks to an innovative new growing system. CTV's Jack Richardson has the details.
Picking strawberries in October.
It's so much better. It's unbelievable.
A tabletop system here at Reike's Produce Farm has extended their strawberry picking season by about 6 weeks.
So you're able to get a lot more consistent production. You're not worried about excessive moisture in the ground.
This new setup keeps the berries 4 feet off the ground, so Brian and Jenny Reike don't have to worry about excessive rain.
So the irrigation method for us is we have the main line running underneath the berries, and then we have these spaghetti drippers coming up, and that way we can deliver the water right to the root zone of the crop, and it avoids getting any moisture on the leaves or on the fruit, which helps to maintain quality.
The system is unique for an Eastern Ontario farm, and it's allowed the Reikis to grow more strawberries than years past.
People are loving the quality of them. They keep a lot longer for people in the fridge because they are kept dry and there's just way less disease pressure in here.
I like this stuff for me. I got strawberries today. They look beautiful. And I have had them before and really enjoyed them. They seem to last a little longer too.
Typically when you're picking strawberries, you have to get in a stance like this because they only grow up to about your ankles. But here at Reiki's Produce Farm, that's no longer the case with the tabletop system they've implemented. That's made picking strawberries far less labor-intensive for farmers, which the Reikis say has also increased production.
It's a lot easier on the body. We're able to keep going longer days. And it also allows us to be more efficient. You don't have to stand up once in a while to bring stuff away. You're already standing. You're not making that transition, allowing us for more efficient picking as well.
Jack Richardson, CTV News, Morrisburg.
And still ahead on CTV News at noon, Hamilton Health Sciences is once again performing tonsil and adenoid surgeries after a pair of deaths 4 months ago. We'll have the details in the update when we return.
Four months after 2 child deaths prompted McMaster Children's Hospital to stop doing tonsil and adenoid surgeries, officials announced the procedures will resume.
CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the update.
Tonsil and adenoid surgery is a common childhood procedure, but for the past 4 months, Hamilton Health Sciences halted the surgeries and has been conducting a review of its program. The hospital suspended the surgeries on June 4th after 2 children died following their procedures. One died the day after, the other died 9 days following surgery. In a statement issued today, Hamilton Health Sciences said, "While there is no apparent connection between these 2 tragic cases, we are undertaking a comprehensive review of the program by external subject matter experts. As a world-leading pediatric hospital, our goal is to provide the best care possible for all of our patients. They expect and deserve nothing less." No specific actions or absence of actions were noted by the review. Hamilton Health Sciences says since June 4th, some 100 surgeries have been postponed, and the hospital is now in the process of contacting families of children who had tonsil and or adenoid surgery scheduled at McMaster Children's Hospital. In 2023-24, McMaster Children's performed 584 such surgeries, with 5.8% requiring a return to the emergency department. That's just slightly above the typical risk for severe complications, which is 5%. Many children go home the same day after tonsil or adenoid surgery. Emergency cases requiring tonsil or adenoid surgeries did continue while the program was suspended. Hamilton Health Sciences is planning to begin operating on scheduled cases again on October 7th. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The federal government won't be ordering a COVID-19 vaccine that's been touted as an alternative to mRNA shots. The Public Health Agency of Canada says it isn't providing Novavax's protein-based vaccine due to low demand. It says the manufacturer requires a minimum order that far exceeds uptake from last year. The agency says its decision is part of an effort to reduce waste. Provinces and territories can order the vaccine directly from Novavax, but Ontario has confirmed it won't be doing so.
A doctor charged as part of the investigation into the overdose death of Matthew Perry is expected to plead guilty in a federal court. Dr. Mark Chavez has agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine. The Friends star died last year of an overdose of the powerful surgical anesthetic. Chavez and 2 others have pleaded guilty in the case and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors as they go after bigger targets, including the doctor Chavez admitted to working with to sell the drug to Perry.
Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is breaking royal protocol with claims in his upcoming memoir that Queen Elizabeth had bone cancer. Johnson resigned just 2 days before the Queen died 2 years ago. He writes that he had known for a year or more that she had a form of bone cancer, and her doctors were worried she could enter a sharp decline. There's been speculation over her cause of death. It's listed as old age on her death certificate.
One of the greatest actors to ever hit the big screen is coming out of retirement. Daniel Day-Lewis is set to star in a film directed by his son, Ronan. The pair wrote the script together, and it is said to explore the intricate relationship between fathers and sons. Day-Lewis announced he was quitting acting after making the 2017 movie Phantom Thread. The 67-year-old is the only performer to win 3 Best Actor Oscars.
Well, how do you do the right thing in an ever-changing world? That's the premise of a new show opening today in Toronto.
CTV's Andrea Case reports if you've ever had a debate about social justice issues, you will find humor in the Thanksgiving play.
There are 4 white people making a culturally sensitive first Thanksgiving play. Oh my goddess.
When a politically correct attempt to update a myth of the first American Thanksgiving by incorporating today's social justice issues in a high school play, comedy ensues in the Thanksgiving play. Vanetta Stromberg is the play's director.
It's about a lot of different things. Trying to be perfect, saying the right thing, doing the right thing, being mindful and aware and culturally sensitive, and failing a lot.
The Thanksgiving play was written by American playwright Larissa Fasthorse. She has the distinction of being the first Native American woman to have a play produced on Broadway. And while it takes place over American Thanksgiving, the themes are universal.
It's among the top 10 plays that are produced across North America. And I think it's because in a way that is, you laugh, so you're having fun, but it helps just kind of make you feel safe being comfortable with that discomfort.
Professional rugby player and veteran actor Craig Lozon is originally from Ottawa. Of mixed settler and Anishinaabe descent, he stars as Caden, a know-it-all history teacher and wannabe playwright. His mother is an educator and was his grade 9 homeroom teacher.
He was like, "Why weren't you in homeroom? I drove you here."
Rachel Cairns plays a teacher whose idea it is to mount the play.
She's wound very tightly, and as she's trying so desperately hard to just get everything right, that it just all goes wrong.
I was just Googling, and things weren't so chill between the Pilgrims and the Indians.
I think it's a great play for people to see because it's going to make you think, it's going to make you laugh, and it's going to inform you about things and make you maybe think about, why am I laughing at this part?
The Thanksgiving play is on stage at the CAA Theatre until October 20th. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Still to come, Boeing has hit more turbulence after the National Transportation Safety Board says some Boeing 737 planes could be fitted with dangerous parts. Details after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Well, a new low for Boeing after the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board issued a warning to dozens of airlines worldwide.
The federal agency that investigates aviation incidents says some Boeing 737 planes could be fitted with dangerous parts. CTV's Sarah Plowman reports.
Another blemish for Boeing. Last week, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board issued an urgent safety alert over a defect that could cause the rudder to jam on some 737s and NG jets. This week, the chair of the agency slammed regulators for downplaying the urgency of the issue, warning the problem could exist in at least 40 foreign air carriers.
Very unusual for the U.S. NTSB to be issuing a letter of this nature.
It all stems from an investigation into an incident in February when United Airlines pilots reported the rudder pedals on their 737-8 MAX were stuck in neutral. The plane landed in Newark safely with no injuries.
The component in question right now is the rollout guidance actuator. Now, when the pilots are doing an auto land, it controls the direction of the aircraft when it's on the ground.
CTV News asked several Canadian airlines whether their aircrafts also had this rudder control system. WestJet confirmed its fleet does not. Flair Airlines noted it follows all safety recommendations issued by Boeing and regulators. Air Canada and Sunwing have yet to respond. Boeing has had a series of safety issues after a door-sized panel blew off a 737 MAX mid-air and 2 fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019. The plane manufacturer faces intense scrutiny. A Officials with Boeing had no comment today, but previously said it informed affected operators in August. The U.S. regulator says it's sending notices to international airlines, while Transport Canada notes that the U.S. regulator and Boeing are investigating. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
When you buy a new car, it will come with a warranty that will protect most items for 3 to 4 years or until a set number of kilometers.
But warranties also come with limitations, and if a dealer can prove you abused your car, it can void your warranty. CTV's Pat Foran has more in Consumer Alert.
What did you think when they said, well, you might have warranty, but you're not covered?
I was really stressed out. You know, $10,000 is a lot of money.
Christian Matsoros of Pickering is apprenticing to be a mechanic. 2 years ago, he bought a Hyundai Elantra N, a sports model he says was designed for performance driving.
It is their track car. They designed it for the track use. It's a 2-liter turbo. It's equipped with a 6-speed manual transmission.
When Matsoros bought the car, he paid extra for an extended warranty and felt he had coverage for 7 years or 140,000 kilometers. In June of this year, while he was driving home, his car's engine failed at 46,000 kilometers. The cost to repair the engine is about $10,000.
It just stopped. I was clicking the gas pedal and it wasn't moving.
The car has been sitting for the past 3 months at a Hyundai dealership. After reviewing the vehicle's data through the engine control unit, it was determined the car had been abused and the engine had been redlined multiple times. Matsoros admits he has taken the car to a racetrack several times to race the quarter mile.
The car has been to the track, but that is not when this motor incident occurred. I was just coming home on the highway and it blew up.
When CTV News reached out to Hyundai Canada, a spokesperson said an investigation was done, and these findings point to excessive engine revving, which falls outside the coverage of the vehicle's warranty due to improper use. Damage caused by misuse is not covered. Matsoros is concerned the car is also under recall for a high-pressure fuel pump. Despite being denied, he still feels Hyundai should repair the engine.
I want Hyundai to cover this motor, especially because I did purchase the extended warranty.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Toronto FC will continue its fight to stay in the MLS playoff picture tonight when the club hosts the New York Red Bulls. TFC coming off that 1-1 draw with the Chicago Fire on Saturday. The Reds are tied with Montreal with 37 points in the Eastern Conference, but sit in 8th place while Montreal is 10th. Tonight's matchup is Toronto's second last game of the regular season. The action kicks off at 7:30.
Coming up, an annual solar eclipse is set to dazzle the night sky tonight with its Ring of Fire spectacle. Details after the break.
An 11-year-old from Calgary is heading to Italy this month to compete in a kart racing championship.
He's going up against the best in the world. CTV's Glenn Campbell has more.
11-year-old Christian Sanguinetti has had a love for cars and racing for as long as he can remember. In his bedroom, he has a simulator. He's been racing on that since he was 2 years old. By the time he was 5, he was on the track racing karts. He loves everything about it.
The high speed and just feeling the energy when you pass somebody and go up to the lead, and seeing the checkered flag when you're in first just feels so good.
Christian's love for racing follows in his dad's footsteps. Brendan's now his coach and his mechanic. It's brought the two even closer together.
The time that we spend together doing this, and it's really nice. It really creates a great bond, and it's a great sport, and it's really cool to see him kind of grow up and take to it.
Christian races out of the Calgary Kart Racing Club in Strathmore. And over the years, he's racked up a lot of wins, as you can see by all of his trophies. The biggest win to date was securing the Canada Finals Championship in Edmonton. And for it, he got a ticket to compete in the World Finals in Italy later this month.
Well, I was screaming, "Let's go," in my helmet when I crossed the line, since it's my first time going there. It's very exciting because I've been wanting to go for a while.
His dad couldn't be more proud of his son.
Solid, buddy. Good drive. It's amazing, yeah. I'm one of the few people who knows, having done it, how how difficult it is, and So yeah, I'm biased, but I think he's amazing, and I'm so proud of him. Yeah, we are all very proud of him.
Christian has big dreams as far as racing's concerned. He wants to one day race with the best.
My goal is to get sponsors, recognition, and make it to Formula One.
Oh, good luck, young man. Well, NASA says a solar eclipse event will create a ring of fire in the sky today, but it won't be visible for many. Annular solar eclipses occur when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun, when the moon is near or at the farthest point in its orbit from Earth, so it can't completely block the sun as it does during a total solar eclipse. Instead, the sun's light surrounds the moon's shadow, creating that so-called ring of fire. In North America, a crescent-shaped partial solar eclipse will be visible in Hawaii and from the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans.
It's bringing back memories of last spring, the solar eclipse here.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was really
It was so
something.
cool. We're all
Yeah.
sitting out there with like those special glasses, like. It was cloudy, but we still managed to see a little bit.
It was there. The clouds parted just enough so we could kind of see it for a few seconds, but it was really cool. It got super dark, which is really fun. Not dark today, lots of sunshine out there, and it remains clear as we head throughout the majority of the rest of our week. So if you can get out and get some sunshine, it'll be a great week to do so. We're watching that cold front continue to pass its way by us. Behind it, a bit of a cooler air mass, so by no means is it cold. It's just a little fresh. We're sitting at 16 still here in the city, 17 in Windsor, and 14 out through Ottawa. Now, as we head throughout the rest of the week, it's not too bad. We're in the 20s. We don't really see a return to seasonal weather until the beginning of next week. So overall, not a bad start to the month of October, if I do say so myself.
And that's CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Sean Leathong. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.